Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence. This is the second book in the Book of the Ancestor series, the first book being Red Sister. I will leave my review for that book on the screen if you haven't read it already. This review will be spoiler-free for this book, but I'm not sure it's going to be completely spoiler-free for the first book, so if you haven't read that book, definitely check out that review instead. There's just a lot that connects the books, and it's going to be really hard to talk about this book without talking about that book, or possibly hinting accidentally, and I just don't want to be held accountable for any of my accidental actions. So I did listen to this book on audio, and I highly recommend that. I love this series on audio. I think the narrator is amazing. She does amazing voices for all of the characters, and completely sucks me in to this world and these characters, and I can't even imagine reading them in physical copy at this point. So first off, we talk about the world building. This series is just building on itself, and I love that we got a lot more clarification in this book about the world. There's not a lot that you know about the world in the first book, and I think you get a lot more clarification about some of the power structures, about some of the nobles, about some of the magic, about just how the world works in general, and I really enjoyed getting a lot more of that, because there are times when, even though I forgive it, there's stuff about this book that you just don't quite understand, but you learn a lot more about the world in this one, and I adore this world. This grimdark, gritty world, and the characters that it births, I adore it, and I just find it so interesting, the way that the weather systems even work, and the different kinds of people, and the magic that, yes, at times is very hard to envision, but I'm okay with it because it is so unique in my opinion. So I love learning more about it and getting to see kind of the different magics and things that the characters didn't even know were quite possible. I really enjoyed all of those moments. Next, let me talk about the characters. So in this book, we still follow Nona, who is our main character, but we also get some alternate POVs, Abyss Glass being the other POV that we get, and oh man, is that an amazing gift. Again, I just really like seeing different characters' perspectives on things, and Abyss Glass is such an interesting character, and you get more of her and how she is this sort of benevolent for them and for you as the reader, puppet master of a lot of things, and is so smart and is such a badass, and I really enjoyed her perspective. But I also continue to enjoy Nona. No, these characters do not read as mid-teenagers, but they're not supposed to, because they're in a world that is incredibly dark and is not at all like our own. So yes, they read like adults because they kind of have to be adults. They're considered adults, they're treated like adults, they are killers at this point. So yeah, the fact that these characters don't read as kids is totally fine for me, because this is not a kid's series at all. But I adore all of these characters. You get a lot more of these characters, you get to learn a lot more about these characters, and I find all of the character interactions really good in this series. The villain interactions are amazing because the villains feel so real. Most of the villains in here are not these magical out of this world villains. They are like the Umbridges of the world, and it's so great because you hate them so much, and they feel so real, and their motivations feel so real, and that is so compelling and so enjoyable, even though you're wringing your hands because you're I hate you, but it's so good. And then the really positive interactions are fantastic. Nona, one of the things about her, and she can be unlikable at times, but one of the things about her is that she deeply values her friendship. That's something that you learn in the first book. That gets fleshed out even more in the second book. This girl values friendship above basically all else, and I adore that about her, and it's just a very compelling character trait that I deeply enjoy. Also get to see these characters growing up and getting more training and such at the convent, where they're being trained to be magical assassin nuns, and they're just getting all that more powerful, but I don't feel like they're powerful in a way that anyone is this big sort of trump card. All of them have their skills, and it's not one that's the savior of all, or who's more powerful than the other ones. It's just, they all have things to contribute, and I really enjoy that, and they're all really good about working mostly as a team, and it's great. I love these magical assassin nuns. And lastly, I'm gonna talk about the plot. Again, I loved it. I don't find any of it slow. I find it compelling the entire time. I am constantly intrigued by the plot stuff, the fighting, the violence, and the intrigue and character development and all of that. There's a really good mix with this series of the fighting action and the character development, political intrigue stuff. Like, it's a really good blend of both of those, and it just keeps me going throughout the whole series, and it's just, oh, it's so good. Like, I need to know what happens, and it's one of those series that, like, I still think about after I put it down. Like, sometimes you're really invested in a book, and then you put it down and you kind of forget. I finished this a couple days ago and I'm still thinking about it, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series. Obviously, I've been gushing about this the whole time. I gave Grey Sister 5 out of 5 stars. I love it. I probably love it even more than Red Sister, and I didn't even think that was possible. I love this series, and I cannot wait for the next book in this series to come out. So obviously, I will be doing a spoilery gush on this book, so if you've already read this book and you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts, which may or may not be coherent because I struggle to sometimes form words about this series because I love it so much, I will be linking that on the screen for you to check out. So comment down below and let me know your thoughts on Grey Sister. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon.